We know mentoring relationships don't all look the same. That's why effective programs must adapt to the needs of the youth and communities they serve. Mentor's Elements of Effective Practice for Mentoring provides a roadmap to quality program design. Using the latest research and wisdom from the field, we help programs ensure that their services are safe, meaningful, and positive, no matter where they are and who they serve.
The Elements of Effective Practice for Mentorship comes in handy when we are adjusting as our program grows and we welcome new youth into our program and new families. We are learning how to better serve them, and it makes sure that we are not missing gaps.
I think it's great that Mentor makes the investment to continuously update the elements of effective practice. Mentor recognizes that our young people are changing and as a generation, and we're able to continuously grow with them and to think about how are we better serving our young people? Because at the end of the day, it's not about me as a mentor, it's about the young person that we are trying to support.
We really wanted a resource that spoke to the diversity of our field and kind of the wide spectrum of program settings and relationship types. We reviewed several hundred peer-reviewed journal articles, but we also drew on the wisdom of practitioners. I'm a big believer that there are multiple ways of creating truth and meaning, and we really wanted to make sure that we were representing the folks who do this work every day and not just the opinions of researchers.
With updated content based on new research, the 5th edition of the Elements of Effective Practice for Mentoring provides a more positive, rewarding, and impactful experience for all.
Please welcome to the stage Ernie Anguilla, Board Chair of Mentor.
How's everyone doing? Having a great day? It is just so inspiring. I think this is my 7th mentoring summit, and every time it just gets better and better. So thank you all again for everything today, and thank you for hanging in with us. We really do appreciate it. Just to reintroduce myself, I am Mentor's National Board Chair, and delighted to welcome you all back for our second plenary of the afternoon. We have a terrific program ahead of us, including a TED-style talk from our CEO, Jermaine Myrie, and some great conversations about building a workforce through mentoring. But before we get to that, I have the honor of presenting this year's Excellence in Mentoring Award for Corporate Youth Leadership to Alex Sade. Alex is a strategy consultant at Deloitte, focused on growth and customer strategy. He has served market-leading clients across technology, financial services, and travel and hospitality, and helps to lead Deloitte's relationship with CityYear, a great partner of Mentors, as a former public servant with the organization and a Deloitte Fellow. Alex served as a student success coach at the Hennigan School in Boston, where he mentored 5th and 6th grade students academically, emotionally, and socially. He carries his passion for mentorship with him at Deloitte, where he has led national service events centered on providing students with access to STEM learning opportunities, and is spearheading an initiative that aims to use chess as a vehicle for mentorship, which is very creative, I have to say. His nominator, Julie Mahan at CityYear, said of Alex, his consistency and follow-through in his actions allowed him to form a solid foundation of trust with his students, which in turn led him further motivate them to be the best versions of themselves. And that is what so many of us look for in a leader, someone who can inspire and support us. To these students, Alex did just that. He went above and beyond in his role to provide space and opportunity for students to grow as individuals. And his manager at CityYear, Dan Thompson, said, Alex has served as an example to young people both starting in their year of service at CityYear and also young people entering the workforce at Deloitte and other big companies. And I've gotten a chance to get to know Alex a little bit over the last day or so, and he deserves all these accolades. He's also one of those people that makes you feel very underaccomplished because he's done so much already at a very young age. So please join me in welcoming Alex Sade and congratulating him on this year's Excellence in Mentoring Award in Corporate Youth Leadership.
Wow. I was not expecting that introduction. Thank you so much, Ernie, for that. First of all, can I just say how humbled I am by this award and by the opportunity to be spoken of in the same breath as these other incredible awardees. Thank you, Mentor, for this recognition, and especially thank you all for being here today and for the amazing work that you all do. I was thinking about this beforehand and just reflecting on how much of a privilege it is to be able to share my story with you all. So as Ernie mentioned, I am a consultant at Deloitte, and before I was a consultant, I was a public servant. I was a student success coach with City Year to 80 fifth and sixth graders at a Boston public school. And two very different experiences, right? being a teacher and being a consultant are not the same, but across those experiences, I learned a few valuable things about mentorship that I'm going to share with you all today. And at the end of the day, they boil down to what I like to call the 2 C's. They guide me in the work I do. The first is confidence, and the second is care. Confidence and care. So confidence. I think what separates a good mentor from a great mentor is the ability to inspire self-confidence in others. And when I think about someone that embodied that ability in my life, I think about my 7th grade English teacher. Her name was Miss McBride. And that was as context on myself in the 7th grade, I was much more interested in shooting hoops than I was in doing my homework, which my parents were pumped about. But Miss McBride saw me a little bit differently. Miss McBride thought that my contributions to the world could be greater than shooting hoops. She gave me the confidence to explore new things, to acquire new skills that I could use to make my mark. And by doing that, she changed my life, and she's the reason why I'm here today. I think mentors occupy a really unique position in that sense, to inspire confidence in others. And that confidence is what I aspire to give my students at City Year. I was adamant about teaching all of my students how to play chess. You guys know the game with the rooks and the pawns? A lot of nods in the crowd, good. I taught all of my students chess over the course of my service, both to connect with them, but also to give them a positive learning experience and learning something new that I hope would translate to enthusiasm about learning in the classroom. So that's confidence. The second is care, right? I think as mentors, the simplest way to make an impact is to show that we care. And I learned this at a very pivotal moment in my early career. It was before my first client presentation. I was so nervous. I had never done anything like that before. I studied my notes so diligently, I knew how many spaces there were on the page. It was nerve-wracking. And as I was brooding over my notes in a corner somewhere, my manager came up to me and asked me how I was doing. And that would have been the perfect time to tell her that my palms were sweaty and that my collar was too tight and that one of my eyes was twitching. But I didn't tell her that, right? I put on a face, and I said that I was fine, even though I wasn't. Now, what she said next blew me away. What she said was, well, I'm a little nervous about today. And I thought for a moment, I said, this defies everything that I've ever learned about leadership and mentorship, right? You're supposed to project strength and confidence and rally people around your abilities. But she understood something in that moment that I didn't, which is that our care for each other motivates our best work. And we had a great meeting that day. And it was a personal highlight of mine because in that moment I understood what kind of mentor I wanted to be, right? I wanted to lead with care. So zooming out and thinking about how this impacts the work that I do at Deloitte, I'm pioneering a service initiative for Deloitte practitioners that is centered on harnessing the teaching of chess to create positive learning experiences for students. Inspired by my time at City Year, experiences that develop opportunities for mentorship, experiences that inspire students to have confidence in learning, in tackling challenging problems, and in thinking about what their next moves are going to be, right, on the board and in life. And I think at Deloitte, if we can do a good job of bringing innovative ways to develop mentorship to the world, we can play our part in building a new generation of mentors that are both confident and caring. And I think to close out my remarks, that's what we're all doing in this room today, right? That is the journey that we're all on, is creating mentors who create mentors. And in so doing, we are building the workforce of the future, and we're moving our communities forward one mentor at a time. Thank you.
Please welcome to the stage Jermaine Myrie, Chief Executive Officer at Mentor.
Hello. So I stand between you and probably a bottle of water, right? That's what we're calling it these days. I want to talk to you a little bit about humanizing systems. So I know this 63-year-old woman back in New York, Maria. Each day, or not each day, once a month, Maria takes the bus to go pay her phone bill. And so I've often said to Maria, I would say, you know you could pay your bills online. And Maria's like, no, Jermaine, that's okay. I want to go and take the bus to go pay my bills. And I will say to her, well, what happens if there's a snowstorm or the bus isn't working? She was like, I'll make it. Because what Maria looks forward to in her journey is the interaction in getting there, the interaction with the bus driver and the train operator. And she often looks forward to seeing the same counter agent at the telephone company, Joan. She enjoys the time that she has to connect with Joan, to just chit-chat, to complain about how high the bill was this month or the fact that they're raising the prices. She feels in that interaction alive. Now, Maria's journey, when I think about it, is not dissimilar from the journey of young people in the education system. In the education system, they know each day that they could get on a school bus and the bus driver is the same, maybe. They get off, maybe they're arriving at school with the cafeteria person, and it's the same person greeting them for morning breakfast. And they get to their classroom, and they interact with the same teacher. They're part of this system, the education system. And the excitement of the young people is the fact that they're seen. They're seen in the system of what it is that they do on a daily basis. Well, much in the same way, we have systems in the workplace. But what I think has happened is that the workplace has become dehumanized in some way. And there is no bus driver and cafeteria worker, there's no Joan at the phone booth, or there is no other person that you're interacting with that makes you feel alive. That's unless or until you experience a workplace with an active, high-quality mentoring program. A workplace that says the human connection is the driving force for productivity. What we have found in some of our experiences with our partners in our workforce development work is that workers are energized by the mentor-mentee experience. A matter of fact, one survey that we've done suggested that 84% of those workers that are engaged in a mentor-mentee relationship said they would do it again. That they would come back for a next year to engage with a fellow colleague to really lift and uplift them through and guide them through the experiences of what it is to be in the workplace. And we know this is powerful because those relationships are not just centered on the work experience, but they're centered on a variety of conversations. What that same study showed us is that folks are talking about not just work, but they're talking about their academics. They're talking about their personal lives. So within these conversations, what these mentees and mentors are discussing is life. They're talking about their lives. The fact that their student loans are still not yet paid, the fact that they may go back to school, The fact that they're engaged and interested in understanding how to get promoted, how to navigate the workplace itself. I would say to you that what is happening is that they're humanizing the workforce. That interaction is bringing life, a vibrant sense of being to an experience in a space that for many people is very sterile. How many of us in this room, when a colleague asks you how you're doing, you said, fine? That's a sterile response. I might say you're probably lying. Well, I'll stick with sterile. Because on the surface, you think that's the right thing to say, but I would ask you as you think about that, did you say it because it's what you thought was the polite thing to say, or did you say it because you felt like you had no connection with the person to really tell them what it is that you feel, what it is that you are going through or looking toward? That's in some ways the power that mentoring starts to lift up in the workforce system that really no other type of relationship gives you that basis of trust and accountability toward. And I know that on the surface also, there has to be a business goal, a business imperative as to why it is that mentoring in the workplace is important. What we know and what our partners tell us and what we see is happening across the world is that mentoring is a strong retention and recruitment strategy. It is a way in which for companies and organizations to reach out, to pull people in to their organizations, and to give them the human connection and the sense of purpose to stay and thrive in your organizations. Mentoring is a force multiplier. It multiplies not just the bottom line of an organization, but it multiplies the purpose-centered life of the employee. You give them community, you give them joy, you give them some level of understanding and appreciation. Because the thing that we are missing most in some instances of when we're trying to humanize a system is that systems by and of themselves are not set up for complete success without the human touch. You can't retain an employee by simply giving them a keyboard and a screen. You can't recruit an employee simply by searching through LinkedIn. But if someone is having a great experience in the workplace and at a cocktail party they say, wow, my employer is awesome, that's a force multiplier. That's a commercial in and of itself that lends a sense of credibility that it's greater. And that happens when you have relationship-centered practices, relationship-centered places that allows you to really build the community and the experiences that are going to be positive. And so what I would say when I think about humanizing systems, whether it is humanizing the education system, humanizing the workforce and our economic system, is that we are at a moment in time, at an inflection point between emotional intelligence and artificial intelligence. That the battle that we are in some ways is whether or not AI is going to win out or that we're going to lose our sense of emotional intelligence. And I would submit to you that if we are going to humanize systems that allows the marketplace to truly flourish, we cannot lose the emotional intelligence of the workplace. See, again, as I said, when Maria is going to pay her bills, it's not a function of that there's not another way to do it more efficiently, right? Log in, go online, you save yourself time and a trip. but she has the ability to connect with Joan, to talk about and to vent if she chooses to, or to simply say, hey, it's raining outside. That emotional connection to that Joan is a customer service representative to offer up some level of empathy gives Maria the sense that it's going to be okay. The opportunity for the school bus driver to say to a student, hey, you're leaving your book bag, you're about to go to school without your backpack, is an emotional reaction to not wanting a child to have a bad day. And a mentor in the workplace that taps you on the shoulder and says, you know, this is really how you can navigate this space and how you can get promoted, is a conversation best served in person with a human and not simply through a chat GPT, how do I get promoted? Matter of fact, I don't know if you could, probably you could, in chat GPT, type in, how do I get promoted? But what I want to say and leave you with today is that we are looking at the power of the future. And the power of the future is still in the human connection. The power of the future is still in relationship-centered spaces and places where you know that that is someone that is looking out for you, that has your best interest, that is looking to see you succeed. And you do not have to guess nor gander whether or not it is true, because you cannot see the emotional engagement playing itself out. And the beautiful thing about the mentor and mentee relationship is that you see that happening each and every day. When you see the results of folks wanting to come back into these relationships because they have experienced the power. How many people in here are in their jobs because someone recommended them? Now, there are a bunch of bright lights that are blinding me, but there's a number of things that I can see. How many folks in here have recommended someone for a job? How many people in here have talked to a human today? Okay. How many folks have touched their phones and asked a question today? More of you have talked to a human than you have asked a question of ChatGPT or Google or some other AI system. So you are still living the dream. And the dream is that emotional intelligence, human connectedness, relationships, and the care for others is what will drive the future of our success and the future of us humanizing the systems that we are operating in, because without us, the systems will not function well, nor will they be successful. And so I say to you today that the practices that you are putting forward in your mentoring programs and in your experiences are the things you should continue to invest in, because Maria is the prototype of what people default to when they are about to experience and asking themselves, where do I belong in this vast, big world that is moving faster than I'm able to run? Thank you.
Please welcome to the stage Brenda Jimenez, Chief Executive Officer from Mentor New York, and Christopher Margadona, Senior Director of Training and Program Development from Mentor Rhode Island.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Brenda Jimenez Peralta. Buenas tardes. I'm so excited to be here with you and to be here with my colleague, Chris.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Christopher Margadona. I'm the Senior Director of Training and Program Development at Mentor Rhode Island. And again, so excited to be here with you today. What a great way to spend the last day of my 33rd year of life. This is an amazing way to be able to do this. So very excited. So birthday's tomorrow, just so you know. Shout me out. So we're here to talk about a couple of different things. So you heard Jermaine talk a little bit about systems. And as people who work at Mentor Affiliates, what we do is help people to change systems, whether that be school systems, systems in our community through formalized mentoring programs, or workplace systems. And so we do that through this idea of mentoring mindset. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that and what that looks like through the workplace. And so we have 4 different facets of this when we think about it through this framework. And so that first one is the intentional I see you. Do you know the young people that are showing up there? Do you know their hopes and dreams and what they want? Do you see them?
Do you see me, Christopher? Do you see me?
Yes, absolutely. And in this idea of being supportive, right, the I got you, right? I'm here, I'm listening to you. You can't be supportive if you don't show up. So you want to show up for young people and listen actively to them. The other part of this is developmental. So you want to be able to develop them. You want to help them to achieve goals. You want to challenge their growth. You want to express care. You want to provide support. Some of you have heard those things before when we think about the developmental framework through the CERS Institute and what we do there. And then this last idea that the communal, we're in this together. Do you help connect young people to your resources, to the people you know, and expand their social capital? These are all things to think about as we think about having a mentoring mindset. Now, we want to get you in the mindset of mentoring in the workplace. Think back to your first job. For some of you, you may be in that. This may be your first job. You may be in that right now. Some of you, that may be a long time ago, and that's okay. We'll give you a minute. Think back to that. Think back to when that was. Did you have somebody who was intentional, who was supportive, who was developmental or communal? Some of you are like, absolutely, I had that person. And you are in the minority, right? Because a lot of folks did not grow up, did not have their first job experience with folks that had a mentoring mindset. And so what we do is we go out and train folks in this mentoring mindset and in something that we call Connect, Focus, Grow. And this is a curriculum that we've developed for workplace mentoring, for internship programs, for internal mentoring programs within corporations. And so you all know me, maybe. Okay, for those of you who don't know me, I love a good activity. So we're gonna do an activity right now together. And so what I'm gonna do is we're gonna do an activity called Tiny Teach. And this comes right out of one of our, right out of that curriculum. And so what I'm gonna have you do is you're gonna have to pair up with somebody. All right, and you can only be in a pair of 2. That only works for this. All right, but how I'm gonna do this is I'm gonna have, if you're in row 1, raise your hand if you're in row 1. Raise your hand if you're in the first row. Raise your hand nice and high if you're in the first row. There you go. Now, if you're in the 3rd row, raise your hand, right? How about the 5th row? Raise your hand. What if you're in the 7th row? Right? You can kind of see how we're going here. So what's going to happen is the people that are in the 1st row are going to turn around and pair up with the 2nd row. 3rd will turn around and pair with the 4th, 5th with 6th, so on and so forth. If there's not somebody behind you, just find another person. All right? Don't make this complicated. Don't make me have to pair you up. I cannot see you, so this is not very helpful. All right? So pair up with somebody now, and then once you do, what you're going to do is you are going to have 1 minute to teach them something that you do really well. All right, so is that a recipe you know how to make really well? Is that a dance move you know how to make really well? But you're only gonna have 1 minute to teach that person. And then there'll be another minute for that other person to teach you something. All right, I'll wave my hand when it's time to switch, and then the lights will go down when it's time to come back. So pair up right now with somebody, and I'll start the timer. So find somebody, pair up. I don't care if you know them, don't know them. All right, ready? You have 2 minutes, 1 minute to teach them. Ready? On your mark, get set, go. All right, now it's the other person's time to go, so the other person's going to teach you something. So switch.
Okay, welcome back. If you hear my voice, clap once. You hear my voice, clap twice. Welcome back. All this energy must be we have a group of learners, correct? Did everybody learn something this afternoon? Raise your hand. Wonderful. So now I want to hear a little bit about it. I heard the moans and the groans as soon as Christopher said, think of something to teach in a minute. I saw you, I was watching. Can someone share with us why this activity might have been challenging for you? Oh, perfect.
You get a microphone.
So what I was taught today is organizing and folding clothes, which is my least favorite thing on earth to do. So I heard, and thank you, but I just heard, womp, 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 womp.
Well, so what I will say is that active listening does help when you're interested in what you're learning about, correct? And sometimes we lead with what we think people need to know versus what they're interested and can be fortified with to learn about. I have one more question. Who was an exceptional learner? Wonderful. I would love to hear what made you a good learner.
Well, because we picked a topic randomly very fast that I was very interested about. So when you just said one sentence, I was like, you have to message me on Instagram. So I was just interested about the topic, and I was eager to learn more. Yeah.
Yep.
Does that answer your question?
That is
Cool.
a good answer. If you're interested, if you're actively listening, and then you're going to utilize it, then it means something to you. And so one of the jobs that we have at Mentor is to make sure that adults learn how to show up a little differently for our young people so that they're creating organizational cultures and professional opportunities that allow them to learn, but then to exercise the muscle of teaching, which is something we often don't ask our young people to do, and then elevate and harness their voices so they actually have a say in their professional journey. And then the reality is that when we're up here, this isn't rocket science. I mean, let's be for real. But what's hard is to take the mentoring mindset skill and be intentional and consistent with it. So you're actually tapping into a young person's talent and fortifying the future of our workforce. So how are we going to do this? If you take a look up at the screen, we actually provide trainings, workshops, and support for Connect, Focus, Grow, so that you can be steeped in the mentoring mindset practices necessary to create the organizational cultures that support our young professionals. So I thank you very much. Thank you, Christopher. Happy birthday.
Please welcome to the stage Abigail Goward Hollingsworth, Senior Vice President, Workforce Development External Partner Engagement at Bank of America.
Hi, everyone. My name is Abby Hollingsworth, and I lead workforce development at Bank of America. Now, you may be asking yourself, why is a bank at a mentoring summit? And the answer is because we know that mentoring is the secret sauce to having a strong workforce. And when you have a strong workforce, that means there are people with good jobs and stable financial lives, and we have a stable economy for all of us. I loved hearing what Jermaine said about mentoring and humanizing the workforce, because I completely agree, and that it makes us all more productive and really happier when we have connections at work. So when Bank of America thinks about workforce development, one of the ways we do that is through partnerships with nonprofits like Mentor, but other training organizations and academic institutions. We try to braid together everything we have as a company, from philanthropic support, educational resources, loaned executives, and hiring opportunities to provide career opportunities to young people. One of those key partners is Urban Alliance. Through paid internships, Urban Alliance provides job opportunities, great workforce training, mentorship, and professional exposure to help young people develop skills that will help them in their career and in their lives. At Bank of America, we pair our interns with mentors to support them in the skills that they're learning, but also to just guide them and give them a friendly face outside of their manager during their internship experience. I'd like you to think about your first job. Did you feel comfortable on your first day? Did you know what to wear? Did you feel like you were ready to go? I know I didn't, and I often did not feel comfortable asking my manager questions about what to do at work. And that's where our mentors come in. I'll share a quick example from last week. I was talking to my mentee because her manager said, hey, she's taking a really long time to do her compliance training. And I said, that's interesting. Let me talk to her about it. And if you are all familiar with the joy of online compliance training, you'll know how tedious it can be. So, but I asked her about it. I said, tell me what's going on with your compliance training. I hear it's taken you a while. She's like, yeah, it's taking me forever. And I was like, well, what's going on? Well, it turns out, she goes, well, I'm doing this training, and there's these links in there. There's like a link to the data protection policy and the employee code of conduct, and I'm reading these long legal documents, and it's taken me forever. And I was like, oh, man, you are so good, so good. But those are for your reference. You don't have to read the data protection policy front to back, right? Like, so good of you to do that, but keep on with the training. File that away for later. So that one little tiny conversation saved her hours of time. And if you think about the multiplier effect of little conversations like that over an entire career. And that's just the power of mentoring in the workforce. So rather than hear from me, I thought it would be much more exciting to hear from one of our interns directly about her experience. So now I am honored to introduce Imani Brooks, who is our Urban Alliance intern alum. She is a student at Bowie State, and she is also a mentor herself. So the mentee becomes the mentor. It's come full circle, and I'm really excited to have her here with us. Imani, if you'll join me on the stage. Good to see you. Have a seat. Imani, thank you so much for being here. Can you tell everyone a little bit about your internship when you were working at Bank of America? Obviously, after you went through a bunch of training.
Yes.
Tell us what it was like.
So after training, I was a Digital Ambassador Financial Center intern for Bank of America, and I was the first person that everyone would see when they walked in. I helped clients get to where they needed to be, whether they had a meeting with my branch manager, whether they needed help at the teller's desk, or whether they just needed help at the ATM machine. I also help clients book appointments, reschedule appointments, cancel appointments, and I was also just there to give clients information about digital technologies that can be used for banking.
Yeah, it's such an important role, and we are really excited that we have young people in our financial centers. Tell us about some of the customers and how you help them, because they may not be comfortable with new technology.
Yes, so most customers that I had come in were elderly, and our generation now is moving towards mobile devices and a lot of ATM machines and not so many tellers. And so I was sort of there to help those people get that information. I helped some people order checks through their mobile phone. There were a lot of things that people came in for that they could have did at home. And so I was just there to show them that they won't have to come into the bank next time to get things done.
Yes, and we were so glad that you could be there to help walk people through how do you use a mobile app or an ATM to do these things.
Yes.
Now to talk a little bit about mentoring. Tell us, how has mentoring influenced your professional life so far?
So mentoring has influenced my professional life because I definitely had to learn a lot of patience and keep my head held high. There were times throughout my internship where I faced difficult situations, and my mentor had to teach me that I couldn't take things too personally or act out of character. I had to maintain a positive attitude, remain composed and poised. And I also had to learn how to not only build professional relationships, but also build personal relationships. And I gained the professional skill of customer service. This was my first internship where I had to speak with individuals of diverse backgrounds. And my mentor actually coached me on adaptability, communication, and problem solving in order to effectively provide the best service for our clients.
I love that. And anyone who's worked in customer service, you know how challenging that can be. And I tell people, if you're in customer service, or really any of us at work, your motto should be, I'm gonna be Elsa and let it go. So I'm glad you got that lesson early in life. It will serve you well, right? You have to know when to let things go. So what advice do you have for young people about mentoring, and should they seek out a mentor?
So young professionals should definitely seek out mentorship. It is always important to have someone in your corner who cares about your personal and professional success. Of course, you'll have family and friends who will support you, but sometimes a mentor can give you advice that no one else can. And it's also important to know that mentors have had many different jobs, career paths, and they can share their expertise with you on many different topics and have many different conversations that sometimes your family won't be able to help you with. And I also know that as a young person myself, sometimes young people tend to think in the present. And sometimes I feel like mentorship can definitely help you think more long-term about your future career goals and career path.
That's great. Can you share with everyone where you're going to be next summer?
Yes. So this summer coming up, summer of 2025, I will actually be interning for the Federal Reserve Board thank you. I will be a business operations for the Division of Management internship.
So congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
very exciting.
Thank you.
Well, Imani, thank you so much for joining us. As you can see, Imani is a perfect example of how mentoring can help develop skills, bridge gaps. But something that I'd like to emphasize is that it is good for the mentors as well as the mentees. It builds bonds, it develops leadership skills, and makes our workplaces just a happier place to be, and where our organization is stronger because of it. So, Imani, thank you so much for being here, and thank you to all of you for being champions of mentoring.
It gave me a foundation to build off, and it helped me in my relationships and networking.
What Connect, Focus, Grows allows us to do is heighten the supervisor's awareness, heighten the employee's awareness of how they show up to interact with the other employees in the workplace.
We believe big problems require cross-sector solutions. That's why Connect, Focus, Grow brings together companies and nonprofits to empower young people to be successful at work.
The National Mentoring Project is a turnkey solution for employers. There are trainings, tools, online resources, materials to support the development of young people and young workers, and to build the talent pipeline for employers for years to come.
My dad always told me to get good grades and that it would eventually lead me to a life of prosperity, and I'm realizing you really need support to get there, even if you're working really hard.
Here you all come and you do a Fidelity Scholars Program, something I really wish was around when I was here. And you've basically taken this debt of loan burden off of young people.
When I was growing up, I didn't have a lot of those resources. I didn't know how to perform in school, and it was others around me that supported me. So Fidelity's doing that early and supporting these young people.
Mentorship is so critical in being able to help them understand how do I navigate these challenges. And so the mentors here at Fidelity really are kind of a part of those wraparound supports.
I think the value of having a mentor is really good and important to help you guide your way through college, and also having a network into the outside world as well.
I'm already making connections as it is, but not only on a professional level, but also on a personal level as well.
I know the difference in the quality of life you can have while you're in college and going through that process by having somebody that you can look to and ask questions to.
The opportunity to have a mentor that's coaching you for free through your college career, it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
In College Map, groups of EY professionals mentor groups of underserved students.
The students that we're helping to get to college and ultimately get a job that they love are going to contribute to that workforce of the future. And so I think what we're doing is the very pillar of building a better working world.
I feel like College Map has given me the opportunity to get out of my comfort zone and being the person who I am right now. I feel like I've been given a lot of opportunities, and I'm very grateful for them.
Please welcome to the stage Geronima Nix, Director of Workplace Mentoring at Mentor, and our Fireside Chat panelists.
Hi everyone, how y'all doing? Good? It's been a jam-packed afternoon, and so we're so happy to be with you here today. And I'm so glad to be here, joined by my amazing panelists as well. As you heard, my name is Geronima Nix, so I'm actually gonna read the bios of our amazing panelists. So first we're gonna start with Tajay Wumble, who is a college sophomore at the university, yes, at North Carolina, at Greensboro. She's a media studies major and wants to become a skilled filmmaker. So maybe she can make some of these cool videos that we've been seeing so far in the future. She aspires to be someone who is innovative and hardworking. One quote that she lives by Toni Morrison is, "If there's a book that you want to read, but it hasn't been written yet, you must write it." Another quote that she lives by is from her mother, which is the opportunity to plant, meaning that she brings intentionality to everything that she does. So in other words, if you think of a bingo card, you think of all the spots on the bingo card, all those spots are Tajay's goals. If she can get that spot and she can accomplish that goal, she's gonna do it. We also have Tracy Hollis, who is the Director of Health Savings Account Technology and Workplace Investments at Fidelity Investments in North Carolina. Her career inspiration revolves around leveraging the technology to simplify and improve people's lives while fostering an inclusive environment where every team member can thrive. Tajay and Tracy have been matched for both years that they've been a part of the Fidelity Scholars Program. We also have Itzel Delgado, who is the Senior Program Manager on the Social Impact Team at Fidelity Investments, as she leads the critical mentorship efforts at the Fidelity Scholars Program. The work that she does supports mentor matches alike, like Tajay and Tracy. She passionately believes in the transformative power of building relationships to help advance the educational and career aspirations of young people. Also here on stage, we have Donjay Wilkinson, who is a teacher with DC Public Schools, local as well. She's the oldest child, and as the oldest child, she took on the difficult roles to help her household. One of those roles in particular was at the age of 10, she learned how to mix her mother's pulmonary hypertension heart medicine, which I don't know how many 10-year-olds everyone knows, but that is quite a complicated thing to know at that age. True to her passion for learning, she enjoyed understanding how to mix those medicines in order to be able to help her mother. We also have Raquel Dove, who is an executive assistant at Ernst & Young. She has served as a leader in her church's youth ministry and most notably a mentor and now a persistence director for the College Mentoring for Access and Persistence program, or College MAP, through EY. She is here today as a testament to the lifelong impact this alliance has had on the relationship with her mentee/adopted daughter, Donjay, as well. They met in the College MAP program as a mentor and mentee. Their relationship has actually continued as Donjay went to and through college, and their relationship continues through today. So thank you all. Yes. Thank you all so much for being here today. So to start, I think we'd love to get a great sense of why we're here, why kind of behind the work that they are in. So we'll get kind of a mentor and mentee perspective. So we'd love to hear, why did you join your respective programs? And we'll start with Donjay.
Yes, I would say my high school counselor recommended me to so many programs in high school. Literally, my senior year, I had a half-day schedule. So every single program to just fill my day up, she would just sign me up for. And she knew I was optimistic about joining those programs. She even suggested a program at Columbia University, and I spent literally a whole summer there. And then after that, EY was presented to me, and they offered free food. And I was just like, yes, I want free food after class. And that's how I joined the program, and now I have an everlasting relationship with Ms. Raquel.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. And then from the mentor perspective, Tracy.
So as you can see, I'm a minority, and also, women, and also English is not my first language. So being in the workforce and get to where I am today, so I just wanted to be able to put it back to the society and see what I can help. And also seeing my kids, especially after COVID. So, I have a kid that is, having a gender issues, and the other kid had mental health issues. So, I wanted to be able to help those young adults to go through their career, to go through college, to get to, to have a support system behind them. So throughout my career journey, I always like to hire those the kids that just got out of college and help them to find their passion, and hopefully I can inspire them to, eventually become successful in their career. So with this program at Fidelity, that it just gave me the opportunity to get to know TJ, with a diverse background, that I actually learned a lot from her, and so it kind of grew me personally, and also it's going to help me in the long run. So I'm just very honored to be able to join this program.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. And so you both touched on kind of two really important pieces when we think about career journey, right? You talk about opportunity, opening those doors and helping young people understand or even see what's possible for them. And then you talk about connection, right? Making those connections and even connecting yourselves, right? To open yourselves up to who you are, what you want to do, and why you care for the help that you want to provide. And so all of that, when we think about our career journey, kind of naturally means we're growing, right? We're going to grow as individuals, personally and professionally. And so I would love to hear from a different mentor and mentee, kind of how have you felt like you've grown personally or professionally through your experience in your mentor program? And we'll actually start with Tajay.
I can only speak for me. I feel like I've grown in ways I didn't expect to. I'm being completely honest. How do I say this? You helped me contextualize and materialize my goals and they were all over the place. I thought it was just A, B, and C. She tells me, no, you got A, B, C, B. You got all. But she broke it down for me in a way where I felt more confident. Like, I have friends these days who don't know where to go. They don't have direction in their life. Some of them actually do. But this one person, I told her, I'm like, hey, like, it gets easier once you know the steps. And with having a mentor who been through most of those things and have gone through those steps, though she's different than me, it was intentional. And this is intentional for me. So, yeah.
That's awesome. That's great to hear. And then from the mentor perspective, Raquel, how have you grown in your experience?
I can definitely say that I've seen growth in my leadership skills. There was a point in time where I was actually an introvert, and I would have never been on a platform of this magnitude, nor in front of an audience of this size. I can still see you all out there, even though the lights are bright. So I owe that all to my participation in the EY College MAP program. And College MAP is a mentoring program where we mentor 11th and 12th graders. In this region, we've taken on Dunbar High School, where I met Dante. And we meet with them on a monthly basis. And in those monthly meetings, we present material on various subject matters as how to prepare for college, financial aid process, how to choose the right college for you, because every college is not one size fits all. So we teach those lessons to those students, and in those monthly meetings, the mentors are required to be knowledgeable about the content that we are presenting, so that we can present it in such a way that the students are able to walk away with an understanding of that. And I would tell you, at the onset of those meetings, I was a little nervous standing in front of a bunch of high school students, and they're just staring at you. You looking at them, they're looking at you, and it's like, oh my goodness. But I found throughout that process, I had to tap into my executive presence. And my executive presence is not only how I look on the outside, but it's how I project my voice, it's how I present myself, and it's how I command the room. So I take all those attributes and those things that I've learned, and that's what's helped build and mold me into the leader that I am today. And even on my job, it's allowed me to take on stretch assignments. And stretch assignments are those responsibilities you manage outside of your core responsibilities. So I felt empowered to be able to raise my hand to take on leadership roles, to lead a meeting. And most notably, I've taken on the role of being the persistence director for College MAP, where I manage the college portion. So after the students graduate from high school, they matriculate to college, and that's where we still had that touch point with them. We'll still have that engagement with them to let them know that we're still there. We haven't left your side. We're still holding your hand to a certain extent. So I'm very grateful for that opportunity. And had I not been a part of this program, had I not worked at Ernst & Young, and had they not partnered with Dunbar High School, I would have never met Don J. This relationship we have is so amazing. It spanned years through high school, through college, through her first jobs, careers, and she's such an inspiration to me. Although I poured into her, she also coaches up to me, and I really appreciate that opportunity that's been given.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think you all touch on kind of like the micro benefits, right? Like, how is this kind of supporting me? How am I growing from this? What does this look like in my day-to-day life? And so I kind of want to take a step back and kind of look at the macro level. Like, what are kind of the larger benefits that we see within this work? So I'm actually going to pivot over to Itzel to kind of think about, why do you think programs like Fidelity Investments, like EY's College MAP, are important for corporate programs in particular to invest in and support?
Yeah, I think that programs like these are really important because it helps create bridges for people who may not otherwise have connected. It brings together communities that might not intersect. And as we've heard from our mentees, and my heart is just full hearing about their experience, it opens up opportunities, it expands the possibilities that you as a young person think that you have and what you can be. So I think that is huge. And also, like we heard Tracy say, we feel a responsibility as people who have an abundance of resources and experience to give back. And giving just a little goes such a long way. So, you know, I think this gives the opportunity for people like Tracy to be able to give back in that way. And also, I think the biggest thing, and Jermaine already said it, he stole my talking point, is, you know, it humanizes people. For our young people, you know, it humanizes our Fidelity associates. You know, walking into a place like Fidelity feels sterile, it feels scary and intimidating. And, you know, to be able to have these intimate connections with our associates as mentors, you know, it breaks down those barriers. Our mentors have very genuine desire to be able to pour into our students, but if that intimidation is there and the student feels guarded, that meaningful connection can't happen. So by having, you know, these really intimate connections, we just see how much it bridges communities and it humanizes you know, people who work at Fidelity in a place that feels very scary. And, you know, for our mentors, it pours into them as well. They get the opportunity to see the world through a totally different lens, and they learn a lot along the process as well. So I think that's something that's really beautiful, and it's really hard to find that in any other opportunities or programs. And, you know, I, as the program manager and as a first-gen college graduate, I constantly want to center humanity. For me, that's really the most important part of building programs like this is, yes, the KPIs are there and we want these amazing outcomes, but humanity needs to come first. We need to be human in these interactions, and that's ultimately what's going to lead to the most impactful connections.
Absolutely, I agree. And then Raquel, I think you talked a little bit about that as well in terms of kind of how you've seen those benefits coming through. But I would love for you to kind of talk a little bit about more of like why you think it's important kind of at large for companies to invest in programs.
Yes, I have 5 points on that. So programs like College Map, it's so important because they provide support to young people who are in underserved communities and those from diverse backgrounds who may not even think that college is an option for them. Oftentimes, these students are the first in their families to graduate from high school, and that may sound like a stretch, but it's true. And so if once they have that diploma up under their belt, we help them to realize the potential that they can possibly be the first generation college students for their families as well. And if by investing in these programs, you pair them with mentors such as myself who are able to encourage them and pour into them and walk with them along this journey and helping them to realize that their goals and aspirations are attainable. And I think about corporations like Ernst & Young, and it's very commendable. They play a pivotal role in these partnerships. Not only do they provide the funding, they also provide opportunities for these young people who may not have access to those things that we have to offer. And one thing I can say notably that I am proud of being a part of this program, at the conclusion of the high school portion of the program, we bequeath. We give the students a free laptop and other school supplies to prepare them for college. And I think that's so important because we're sending a powerful message that we are committed to their success and we're committed to seeing them to be the next generation of our future leaders. And it's a win-win situation because we give to them and they give back to us by possibly becoming employees in our very organizations. And if they don't come back to be our employees, we actually have prepared them to be the next generation and future leaders.
Absolutely. Laptop was definitely not necessarily the first thing on my mind when I went to college as well, so that's awesome. Tracy, was there anything you wanted to add to kind of the importance of that investment?
Yeah, I mean, like, so helping them financially is one thing. Kind of like when I first started college, okay, I got into college, but what do I do now, you know? So it's kind of the same thing when I talk to TJ. It's like, okay, time management is one thing. So like, how do you manage your time? How do you handle the stress? So kind of like, you know, you give them a car, but you got to teach them how to drive. So, you know, how do you shift gears and that kind of things, like what to pay attention. So with this mentorship program, it's just kind of like we're there to help them out every time when they have a question, every time when they go through some hard times, or, you know, we're there to help them out. So going through the college, you know, a lot of kids drop out of college the first year. So, I mean, we're there to handhold them. So just let them know that we're there to help them out. So I think this is just very important. And I'm so glad that the company is doing that.
Yeah. And so we heard from our mentees, how important these programs are, the benefits to these programs. We heard from our mentors how important these programs are, the benefits that it has for mentors. But one of the things that sometimes we tend to forget is, how do we get to that point, right? What are the resources needed? What is that infrastructure needed to be able to allow you to build these beautiful relationships, to be able to connect, not have to worry about, how can my mentee be able to go to school and not worry about how to do their homework, right? How can I help my mentee go through maybe some mental health struggles? What resources do I have? If I don't have them, where do I go to, right? The programs and what the programs can offer are really important. And so Itzel, as someone who really does a lot of that behind the scenes work to build that program, thinks about, all those different infrastructure pieces, I would love to kind of get your thoughts around what the importance of different resources are. So we think about toolkits, we think about guides, trainings, when it comes to building up these programs that not only support mentees, but support the mentors who then support the mentees at the end.
Yeah, well, Mentor has been really instrumental in helping us build out the design of all of that. So, through toolkits that you all have created for us, it's been a roadmap to help us have a guide, especially as we scale the program year after year. The Fidelity Scholars Program is growing. We're moving into new regions. Currently, we're in 7. We're adding 3 more. So it's a huge magnitude, and it's important for us to know where we're headed. So the toolkits that you all have created have been huge in helping us scale that year after year. And even things like the conversation guides, it helps our mentors figure out what kinds of conversations to have. Sometimes it's a little intimidating. You're talking to a young person and you're like, what do I talk about? So we have those guides as well. And for the capacity building part of it, yes, we're in corporate, yes, we have resources, but we're also a small team and we're trying to do a lot for a lot of people. So it's about getting creative as your program scales. So some of that is looking at internally to see what are the resources that you have at your disposal. For us, it's career centers. We have an internal career center that is lots of trainings and professional development for our associates that we are also able to leverage and learn from as we're helping our mentors help their mentees. So it's getting creative in those ways and using the resources that you have internally to ensure that you're able to really scale your program and support it in the best way possible. And one of the other things is, I previously worked at a Big Brothers Big Sisters, and I was match support, and I had one-to-one support. We aren't able to do that. I'm not able to spread myself so thin. So we got creative, and I created virtual mentor office hours where a group of mentors can drop in on a biweekly basis and ask their questions, and they get support from me and from other mentors on that call, because we have returning mentors like Tracy, who have been through the initial awkward stage of building that trust and the one-word answers that you get from your young people. They've been able to overcome that, and so there's knowledge sharing amongst mentors. I have the ability to share at a larger scale with my mentors and ensure that I'm able to support them. So it's really getting creative and trying to do the best that you can with the resources that you have, so that matches are supported in their work. There's really great intentions and experiences that our mentors bring to the table, but it's really important that they have a guide and support as they're supporting their own mentees. So I think it's as you're scaling your program, really trying to leverage the resources that you have and get creative.
Yeah, kind of to quote Linnell, who spoke earlier this morning, those of us who are helping our young people, we want to make sure that we're supported. And for program administrators, those who are kind of managing those programs, what can we do to support, the adults in the lives of young people so that they can do what they can, so that they can create beautiful relationships like we heard so far on stage. So as we close out, I would love to finish out with our mentees and kind of hear just kind of some final pieces around what would you tell companies who are interested in creating a mentoring program. So we'll start with Tajay.
I would say the mentor must have quality. The quality of the mentor is to bring out the best that exists in the mentee. When me and Tracy got matched and I was answering the little questions, I didn't mind that she was different. They asked me, how do they look? career and this and that, and I picked like just anything. Because she has shown me that the power of experience makes me well-rounded, and career-wise, I'm just about almost open to anything in my field. I wouldn't mind being a director. I wouldn't mind being a screenwriter. I wouldn't mind being like writing plays, and it's ingrained in me. Like when we did our one-on-ones, like every month, like you showed me that I'm way more than I'm capable of. So please, it's like a melting pot, just like the United States, and specifically the state of New York. That culture is a melting pot. You want that diversity. You want that. You want to make your mentee and as well as your mentor, because it is a relationship, to be well-rounded and to be as experienced as possible. Yeah.
Well said. And Donda?
I would say to just realize that it's equally as important for the mentee and the mentor. There's so many benefits to both parties. You never know who you need till you have them. And I didn't know I needed Miss Raquel until I had her. So you just never know what it builds. You never know if you need a recommendation. She knows me personally, she knows me professionally, and every single recommendation she has written me, I have received scholarship, job-wise. She's just been such a great support system in my life. She has shown up for everything I have ever done in my life since we've met, which is crazy. So I would say you just never know the relationship that it will build if you start that program, and you never know who it might benefit. So I would say just keep going and realize that it's equally as important for both parties.
That's awesome. Thank you all so much. And thank you all as well. I hope everyone enjoys the rest of the summit.
You did it.
We'll go out that way.
Please welcome to the stage Nikki Ruiz de Luzuriaga, Chief Development Officer at Mentor.
Hello, everyone. You have made it to the end of day one. Let's have another round of applause for that wonderful plenary. I want to thank all of our speakers and all of our sponsors and employer partners who are bringing these wonderful relationship-centered practices into their workplaces and really impacting so many lives. And I want to thank all of you for being here today, for being so present and so engaged. Your energy is just electric, and I can feel it. And I can feel that you guys are so ready for some fun. And so before I release you out into the world to have that fun, I just wanted to just offer a word of wrap up for today. And that's that as our world gets more and more sort of technologically focused, and there are so many things that you can learn online, right? There's so many things that our young people have access to online. They can learn how to code, they can learn how to do Excel, they can learn all of these great job skills online, and that's wonderful, but there's so many things that they can't learn online. Important questions that they'll never be able to answer online, like, who am I? And what can I expect out of my life? What will I become? What should I do in this hard situation? And that's why mentoring is so important, and that's why Mentor is here, to make sure that more of those relationships can happen, whether they're in workplaces, in communities, or in schools, or beyond.